And Don Lewis coming to you from the beautiful metaverse, and more specifically from beautiful Danville, Illinois, homeland of the Correllian tradition. And this is Midday with Reverend Don. And as you know, if you follow Midday with Reverend Don, you can type your question or comment into whatever platform you happen to be watching on, and we can communicate directly through the chat room. And I love talking with you. I hope that you enjoy talking with me, and that you're having a good Wednesday so far. And today we're going to talk about the crystal web a little farther. I wanted to talk about creating crystal access points today. We've talked about that on the broadcast before, but since, as I've said, I'm going to do a crystal web ritual tomorrow, I thought that it would be good to cover this today. And that ritual will be here on the noonday broadcast, and I hope you'll consider joining it. And if you don't already have a crystal access point, then pay attention today, and you can create one tonight and be all ready for tomorrow. But before we get to that, I wanted to take a moment and mention the Witchy Awards, which you can find at modernwitch.com/witchcraft and occult media awards. And we here at Pagan TV are nominated for 2 of those awards out of a great many different categories. And I've talked about how this sort of recognition can be very important to creators, to let them know that their work is of meaning to people, that people are receiving it well. And if you like Midday with Reverend Don and other things brought to you through Magic TV and Pagan World TV, I hope that under Best Vlog or Vidcast, you will vote for Magic TV. And under Best Movie, we have Journey to the Parliament. And hello to Tom in the chat room. It's good to see you, Tom. If you've not seen Journey to the Parliament, I highly recommend that you go to Magic TV and watch it. It is it's certainly a story you won't find anywhere else. It involves interviews with a number of pagan parliamentarians and talks about, hello to Lady Blindwolf. It's good to see you. It talks about how pagans have interacted with the modern parliament of the world religions. Hello to Renee in the chat room. It's good to see you. A little bit mentions the original parliament and all kinds of things that you won't find anywhere else, I don't think. So I highly recommend watching the movie, hearing what people have to say about their experiences with the parliament. The parliament has been very important in modern interfaith work. I am one of those people who thinks that it's very important to the future of our movement, that we be there, that we be accepted there and have a good place there. And Lady Blindwolf asks, is the movie here on YouTube? Yes, it is. It's at Magic TV. If you go to the Magic TV channel, that's MAGICK TV. We also have it on many of our other platforms as well, but you can find it here. And it's called Journey to the Parliament. And hello to Mary Cavalcante in the chat room. It's good to see you. I also wanted to take a moment and mention the upcoming Correllian lustration. And I'm sure that many of you already know the lustration will be held from May 16th to 19th here in Danville at the Harrison Park Clubhouse and hosted by Pure Sanctuary Temple. And the cost for attending the main parts of the weekend is $40. Of course, the lustration ceremony itself is always open to anyone. But the other parts, there's a $40 fee for attending. That includes meals, and there are going to be several of them. And this lustration is a historic event in that it will feature, in addition to all the things we normally have at lustrations, there'll be a double investiture for the new first priest and first priestess. And Lady Blindwolf says, is that in Indiana or Illinois? It's in Illinois, almost on the border of Indiana. And it is maybe 3 hours south of Chicago, about 2 hours west of Indianapolis. Readily accessible from the highway. And yeah, this is where the Correllian tradition began and grew up. And every 5 years we do our lustration here. and it is the perfect place for an investiture. And this is the first double investiture in 45 years. Um, just under 45 years ago, Lady Crystal and I became first priest and first priestess of the Corellian tradition. And on May 18th, Lady Alyssa and Lord Phoenix will be becoming first priest and first priestess as well. And that will make four of us, but they are the ones actively running the tradition now. Lady Crystal and I are both retired in office. And it should be a wonderful event. I think it will be most enjoyable. And there you go. There will also be a variety of other activities that weekend. And hello to Brian in the chat room. And Brian says, hello, Rev Don, from my post-op appointment waiting room. Thank you, Brian, for your dedication to the program to be listening to us there. I hope everything goes very well. It's going to be an interesting illustration, and I'm very much looking forward to it. And one of the most beautiful places we've ever held a illustration, although we've had a number of beautiful places over the years. Many years ago, we did illustration in Piqua, Ohio, at a beautiful clubhouse, similar in function to this. It was part of the park system. In England, we did our illustration at a manor house that was absolutely beautiful. And there have been a number of others that were quite memorable for their locations. But I think this one may be the most beautiful one yet. And I'm quite excited about doing illustration there. Although exactly illustration weekend will be there. There's been some talk of doing the actual ceremony down by the Vermilion River, which of course is sacred in Corellianism. Certainly there'll be at least some activities by the Vermilion River. And hello to Steve in the chat room. And Steve says, good day from Aussies. That's wonderful. Thank you for being here, Steve. I love all the people that we gather together for this broadcast. And as I was saying, we have a very beautiful location. There are going to be a number of events beyond just illustration itself, tied into the investiture, which is quite a ceremony. I still remember after, I believe it was the Parliament of the World's Religions in Ontario, where we did a regional illustration ceremony as part of the program. And there was one person who made the comment that up until now, they had thought that the ADF had the longest, most complicated ceremonies that they had met, but now they had to reconsider. But they meant it as a compliment. I took it as a compliment. And one of the things about a lot of our illustration activities is they're highly patterned. And this is a term that Lady Bitterwind introduced to us. Patterning is where you make a lot of theological and philosophical references within a piece of art, a piece of writing, a piece of ritual, without necessarily calling attention to them. And it becomes a teaching tool as well as whatever else it may be. And the illustrations and the investiture, and for that matter, our initiations are all very heavily patterned in that way, whereas our other rituals are not necessarily. But for these things, we make them very much a restatement of our understanding of existence. And if you've never seen a Corellian investiture, and it's certainly none of you will have ever seen an investiture for a first priest. A few may have seen the investiture of a first priestess regent. But this will be the first investiture of a full-fledged first priestess, because the Witan has accepted both Lord Phoenix and Lady Alyssa as permanent first priesthood. It's quite the event, quite the spectacle. I know that no one has seen exactly this ceremony before because I remember who was there 45 years ago, and only two of us are still living, which I guess after 45 years is not a surprise, but it is a little sobering when you think about it. And in fact, when I look not only at that ceremony, which was um, relatively private compared to some, but if I look at the entire tradition and the people who were members then, I think there are only two of us still living all together, um, which is very sobering. I think about all the people that I grew up with, um, the people we used to do regular ritual with in the Mother Temple or the Dancers of Shakti Temple. And I have to stop and realize they're except for Lady Crystal and I, they're all among the ancestors now. But so many wonderful new people have come, and that is one of the great glories of life. That yes, the old generation passes away, but ideally the new generation brings you great joy as you watch them take up their spots. And of course, there are times that not everyone is going to work out. But overall, I'm very pleased with how things have progressed over these many, many years. And I'm looking forward to whatever I'm blessed to see while remaining in this mortal life and to going on to joining the ancestors myself and continuing to watch the tradition grow and prosper. It has been a wonderful, occasionally colorful ride, but it's been a lifetime, I think, unlike any other, and I'm quite happy to have done it. So we're going to talk about crystal web today, and I've been talking about that for a couple of shows now, and I already talked about how the crystal web is a psychic engine intended to connect people and help them to work together. And it has access points all around the world. The Corellian tradition works very heavily with the crystal web, but the crystal web's origin um, is with the Newcastle Society and with Sir Edward outside of the Corellian tradition, and it's always been open to all people, not only Corellians. Um, we're just the ones who talk about it most. And probably most crystal web access points are in Chicago, which is where it began. And it began on the 8th of August, 1988, um, which means it's many years old now. But we have crystal access points all over the world. We even have a few in Antarctica. We have two in Antarctica, which I always mention because I'm still blown away by the fact that there are not only one but two crystal access points in Antarctica. That's rather thrilling in my mind. And we also have them in the Philippines. We have them in parts of Asia. We have them in South America. We have them in Africa. We have them in Europe. We have them throughout North America. There are hundreds of crystal access points. And although there is a crystal access point map, I know that there are many access points that never quite got on the map, so that there's even more than it appears. And if you want a crystal access point, what do you do? Well, the first thing you need to do is you need to have crystal. And we were talking about this a little bit yesterday, that most commonly people use um, a quartz crystal. That is the most common thing to make your crystal access point from, because quartz is very good for transmitting and amplifying energy. But you can also use other crystals either together with your quartz crystal to help to color that energy, or even in place of it. And hello to Vanny in the chat room. It's good to see you. There are at least a few crystal access points that I personally know of that have full-blown crystal grids as the crystal access point, particularly at Cricket Hill in Chicago. I haven't been to Cricket Hill for a long time. I understand it's no longer much of a hill, but the crystal access point, I'm sure, is still there. And that one involved quartz crystal, amethyst, malachite, and there may have been more that I would have to go back and look at records to see. But it was quite a large crystal grid for that access point. And then there are others that are just a single crystal buried in a certain part of the ground. Or in some cases, deposited in the ocean. And there is more than one way to make a crystal access point, but this is the one that I use and that most people use. And again, you start with a crystal and a place to put your crystal. And generally, people bury their crystal in the earth, so that the earth itself is a transmitter of the energy. So what you want to do is you want to select your crystal, and you want to cleanse your crystal of excess energy, of any energy that is not helpful to what you're doing. You may want to cleanse it of all pre-existing energy patterns, or depending on what the crystal has been used for previously, only the negative energy. And to remind you what I mean by negative energy, I don't necessarily mean big oogie boogie negative energy. Just unfocused energy counts as negative energy. So you want to cleanse your crystal, and you can do that very simply. You hold your crystal, you flood it with a yellow-white light to cleanse it, and you focus out any negativity, and then you will flood it with a blue-white light to bless it for your purpose. And you want to tell it what you want it to do, that it's going to be your crystal access point to help your energy to interact with the crystal web. And then for the actual blessing, it's very good to go ahead and create an entire circle. You can do this depending where you're doing the ceremony. You can do it in your temple, in your home. You can do it in the middle of a park if that's where you're going to bury your crystal. And if you're in a circumstance where you don't necessarily want to be seen doing that, you can do it entirely in your head. It does not have to involve any physical gestures at all. You're creating an energetic format when you do this. And then you're going to hold your crystal in both hands, center yourself, and above the crystal, you want to imagine a three-dimensional triangle of white light. And to see this just as clearly and as fully as you can, you want to imagine that three-dimensional triangle spinning clockwise. It doesn't have to be spinning quickly, but you want to see it spinning clockwise. Become aware of your heart chakra and feel your heart chakra as strongly as you can. And imagine a ball of beautiful clear white light in your heart chakra. See it shining with the beautiful white light out in all directions. And if you wish, you can pull in the energies of the universe to strengthen this, depending on how you feel. But when it's clear in your head, when you see that ball of light clear in your head, you want to send forth a beam of green light from your heart chakra into the spinning triangle. And as that green light enters the triangle, it should change its shape. It will not necessarily do this immediately. It may take a little while, but it should change from a triangle to a cube, still spinning clockwise. And you should see this transformation again as fully as you can. When the triangle has become a cube, then for want of a better way to put it, it has opened. And you want to fill it with that green light as completely as you can do. And when the cube is as full of the green light as it can become, the light will begin to reverse and to come back from the cube to your heart as, again, a beam of green light just coming back to you and filling your heart with that same beautiful green light which has been transformed through the energy structure you have created. It will fill your heart completely. Let it fill your entire body. And as you do so, let it fill out around you in all directions. Let it fill your head, your legs, your arms. Let it fill around you. But in particular, let it flow down into your hands where you're holding your crystal. And let it fill the crystal that you're going to use for your crystal access point completely with this green energy generated from you, but transformed through this energetic engine you have created. And when it's completely filled with the green light, it will be prepared. And at that point, You can give thanks and let all of these images dissipate except for the green light coming out of the crystal. If you are working physically present at the place where you plan to bury your crystal, you would do that now. You can also do the ceremony in a different place and then take your crystal to where you plan to bury it. You want to make just a little hole, low enough, a deep enough hole that it's unlikely to be dug up by squirrels or what have you, or the local dogs. And you want to bury your crystal in that hole and then cover it over and place your hands upon it. And once again, you want to fill it with light and also with a charge telling it what you want it to do. That this is your crystal access point and it is to connect to the crystal web. And see it fill with that beautiful white energy. And fill it with as much as you can. And when it's completely filled, you will start to see beams of energy shooting off from it in different directions. At least you should see this. If you don't, that doesn't mean it isn't happening. But generally you will see it, and the directions they're going in will be to other nearby crystal access points as it connects into the web. And it will connect in many directions in many cases, sometimes only one. Sometimes you may have difficulty seeing it. Again, that doesn't mean it's not happening, but usually if you have any sense of open clairvoyance, you'll be able to see it going out in all directions. And it will be quite an image in some cases. And when you've done that, your crystal web access point is created. You want to thank it. And then you can allow the image of the energy to fade. And clear and release all excess energy. And that is the simple description of how you would do this. And Steve asks, is there a particular time of day to do it? Not really. Whenever is convenient is just fine. I believe that when the crystal web was created, and if I remember correctly, it was created with 8 crystals on that date of 8/8/88. But Sir Edward would have to remind me of that because I was not there. But I believe that was done in the afternoon. But you can do it whenever is convenient to you. It's not really important when you do it so much as that you do it. Now, when you're ready to use it, you don't have to physically come back to it. You can connect to it from however far away you are. But what you will do is you'll pull into yourself the energies of the universe. You'll see your heart chakra glowing with beautiful white light. You'll send out a beam of light to your crystal access point, and you will see your crystal within its cube of light, within the earth. And as the white light fills it, it will change from a cube to a triangle. This is the opposite of what we did in charging it. But that is how you know that your access point has opened. And then you can do whatever the work that you mean to do is. People use the crystal access point for a lot of different purposes. One of the most common is attuning to the energy of the universe at times of certain astrological phenomena. We also use it to send healing energy when healing energy is needed, either to individuals or even globally after certain natural disasters have occurred. We've been known to send healing energy to even to war zones through the crystal web. And it can also be used sometimes for communication. There are many things to do with it, and also there are individual personal things you can do with it. When you've seen it open from the cube to the triangle, you put in the energy that you want or take out the energy that you want, and that's really all there is to it. And when you're done, you don't have to close it back down. It will close itself when you're done working with it. It was created that way. Every month on the 11th of the month, the Order of Web Weavers, and also anyone who wishes, takes part in a ceremony to cleanse and strengthen the crystal web. And what they do is that they put additional energy into the web, open the web globally, let it fill with energy. And everyone is always welcome to take part in that. Tomorrow, as I say, I'm going to do a crystal web ritual. It's not strictly speaking that ritual, but that is why I've chosen the day, together with the date of 111, which is significant to us. Um, so that's what you need to know to create your access point. You can, if you don't already have one, you can do it tonight and be ready for tomorrow or tomorrow morning. And if you already have one, you will use the one you have. But you can always have more than one. I must have 20 different access points at least that I've created over the years. And when I work with the crystal web, generally speaking, I open and use all of them. And you can create as many as you would like as well. I've created them every time I've moved, and I've moved a lot. In Chicago, we had them at Holy City Temple, Cricket Hill, um, Foster Avenue Beach, among other places. Um, all the places Sir Edward created crystal access points in Chicago, he would have to tell you because it's more than I can remember. But he used to create them anywhere that seemed promising. And we also have them here in Danville. We have crystal access points at the old Under the Hill property where Lady Caroline lived, who created the tradition. We have a crystal access point which was created on the occasion of a solar eclipse, which to us symbolizes death and rebirth. At Greenwood House, where I grew up, we have them in a number of other places. And, they're all over the place. So when you open the crystal web, you will send your energy into your crystal access point. It will shoot out to all the other access points. And in theory, you can see them all opening. And it is a wondrous sight to behold. So I highly recommend that if you don't already have one, you consider creating one. I think that the crystal web is a very advanced magical process, magical project that we have used in many very good ways over the years. And it definitely is a good way to magically connect people. So with that, I see that we're coming toward the end of our half hour. That's basically what I had for the crystal web. I will say I'm under the impression we will be having a crystal web ceremony at the Lustration, which again is May 16th to 19th. Here in Danville, we also have a special crystal web access point dedicated to the late First Elder, beloved Wendy LaJoy, near the Vermilion River, which is likely where we would do the ceremony at Lustration. And there are certain ancestors who are particularly connected to the crystal web, including Lady Wendy, Sir Foxglove of the Paladins, and Lady Bitterwind, who I've often talked about here, and Lady Virginia, who was one of our main people in Hoopston for many years. And it is always, to me, a wonderful experience to do anything with the crystal web. And I think that you will find it very energizing. So with that, I thank you for being here. I will look forward to seeing you tomorrow. And let us close with our prayer, as we always do. Divine Mother Goddess, Divine Father God, beloved ancestors, we thank you for all that you do for us in our lives, and we ask you to help us to remain connected, to remain positive, to remain filled with the powers of spirit and life, and to make this world a better place through all that we do. Yes, of course, we know that life always has its ups and downs, but let us do our best to always be part of the up, and to build a better world whenever we can. And let us always see the next right thing to do as we go forward in our lives. Beloved Mother Goddess, beloved Father God, beloved ancestors, we thank you with great love and thanks, and knowing you are always here, but from respect, we thank you for your presence, and may you be blessed now and always. And I thank you for your presence, and may you be blessed now and always, and I'll see you again tomorrow.